Hello, friends. Jeannie Shop here today, Pathways Towards Literacy, to provide you with a minute of motivation. It just so happens to be Wednesday, so let's call it some Wednesday wisdom. Let's talk about instruction. In our secondary spaces, oftentimes we have our learning targets on the board, and then we just pull out that binder that we've used over and over again, year after year, or anthology, and we just go through the content and prepare kids for the test at the end. And our kids don't do well on our tests. Some of them fail our tests, and we think, well, they weren't motivated. They weren't paying attention. Well, they didn't come to class. But in all reality, friends, it's how well we teach is how well they learn. It's not that they're unmotivated. It's not that the students didn't finish their homework. Everything has to do with ourselves as educators. How well we teach is how well they learn. And research is really clear. Direct, explicit instruction will improve reading outcomes. So what does that look like in a secondary space? Well, first of all, we have to dial down into what's the most critical content and then break down the content using Beckworth's design model to identify specifically what are the sub-skills that my students need to have in order to reach that performance assessment or that capstone project. But let's talk about the day-to-day design. Like, how do I design my lesson so my students learn? Because how well I teach is how well they will learn. Well, first of all, I do every day have to have a focused and intentional lesson that is organized in such a way that I'm leading my students towards that finish line. I often think about this as a marathon, right? So my curriculum, my unit is as a marathon, and I have to work backwards. So each and every day I have a specific skill or specific strategy I am teaching the students that they're going to use on that final performance at that finish line. So I have to be really, really clear about the goal or the learning intention that I am going to expect my students to know by the end of my lesson. Now, I see many teachers, they have their learning targets on the board, and oftentimes these learning targets are our Common Core state standards. Well, friends, our standards were never designed as a learning target. It's something that our students, a standard is what they have to be able to do. And oftentimes we should be integrating those standards in that performance assessment, but they're not day-to-day learning targets. Our learning target is a sub-skill of that standard that I am teaching directly and specifically. And I'm going to measure that sub-skill at the end of my lesson. So every day I have some sort of formative assessment that's going to measure whether my students have learned that learning target. So friends, I'm asking you today, as educators and leaders, do you have specific learning targets that you're expecting your students to learn and able to do as a result of your instruction? And how are you going to measure that? And it should never be a standard. Okay? So if you're not sure what to do, how to break that standard down, I'm here along with you. Reach out to me, Pathways Towards Literacy, and I can help you design your lessons that are focused and intentional and broken down, because how well we teach is how well they learn. Have a great day.